Ever wish a podcast would explain how to get better faster from the standpoint of longevity, biohacking, and personalized functional medicine? Co-hosts Dr. Jason Bradley and James Chester, along with executive producer Rachel Bradley, bring you the Get Better Faster podcast. Their mission is radically simple: to revolutionize health by connecting people with the experts, technologies, and protocols that mainstream medicine ignores. Because people deserve to get better faster.
All right. Hello, Get Better Faster Nation. I am Dr. Jason Bradley, and along with my co-host, the one and only James Chester, and our incredible executive producer, Rachel Bradley, we want to welcome you to another exciting episode of the Get Better Faster podcast. Today, we're joined by Dr. Peter Martone, an educator, innovator, and former classmate of mine who's been revolutionizing how we think about sleep for over 25 years. As a chiropractor and an exercise physiologist, Dr. Martone discovered that the structure of your spine directly affects your central nervous system function. And this breakthrough understanding is now helping thousands of people get what he calls way better sleep. That's W-A-Y, better sleep. We're going to talk more about that. His techniques have been featured on CBS, NBC, Fox News, and over 100 international podcasts. I know that I personally need to hear this interview, and I can't wait to dive into the strategies to help me get the best night's sleep that I can, and that you can get the best night's sleep that you could ever dream of. And certainly there's a pun in there somewhere. But without further ado, Dr. Peter Martone, thank you and welcome to the show.
Yeah, man, Jason, thank you so much. And if that would, like I said, one of the most eloquent intros. It just comes off the tongue, the baby blues. How can you not stop looking at those things? You know what I mean?
I'm blushing now.
And James, thanks. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. You know, when impact comes from consistency, and I tried a podcast a while back. It's just a lot of work, and kudos to you guys putting the time, putting the effort in, and making the impact that you are. So I'm happy to share. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Well, Peter, I've gotten to know you over the past several years, and I've seen you doing great work and always showing up. And as they say, 9/10 of it is just showing up. So here you are with us today showing up. And I know that you've done over 100 podcasts and you've been all over mainstream media. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we get onto the interview process with you today. But like Dr. Jason said, you've been in the game for 25 years, classmate of his. When did you realize, I know, right? When did you realize that the sleep position was a missing link in people's health struggles? And when did you realize that that was the moment that you had to pivot from traditional chiropractic care and help people with their sleep optimization?
Yeah, it was. That's a great question. It was when I was in the emergency room, hooked up on Dilaudid because I couldn't feel my leg and I had a disc herniation. So, it was bad. So, it's funny. Nobody ever well, maybe somebody did, but not me. Nobody ever wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be a sleep expert. I mean, that's going to be the most exciting job of my life.
It sounds tired.
It's like you're putting people to sleep for a living. It really does not make sense. So I zigzagged into where it was. And what's interesting is I never got into the sleep industry to help people sleep. At that point, I was always interested in sleep, but I didn't really care about helping people sleep. I wanted to fix their structure while they slept. So and now as I got into it, who wants to waste 8 hours a night in bed laying there doing nothing? When you think about the concept of sleep, it's really a waste of time. And because we live in a society that is so culturally under control, sleep is the opposite of that. It's about letting go. And we don't know how to let go in our culture. You see, so survival is a sympathetic state. Letting go and thrive is a letting go state. And we don't give ourselves the permission to let go because we always want to be in control. And we were born to sleep. So sleep problems are really a learned pattern. So most of my sleep programs, I don't even let people talk. I don't even talk about sleep until, they're well into my process, because sleep, if you think that you're going to put your head on the bed, sleep better, and wake up healthier, it's not going to work. You see, good sleep is a byproduct of good health. So we have to teach people how to live a way, and we'll talk about that, healthier lifestyle to be able to get way better sleep. See, so that's kind of the an opposite concept. People are like, oh, let's sleep better so I can be healthier. Well, yes, it's a component of it, but unhealthy people don't sleep well. And that's really what we're kind of going to dive into it,
Wow.
and how I took a 180 degree look at the industry. And I'm like, holy crap. If I can apply these chiropractic principles to an industry that I believe at the time was broken and failed me because of the recommendations, I might be able to, make some leverage here. And now, 13 years later, here we are.
That's an inspiring story, and I think so many of us that end up, creating new systems, we've gone kind of through the ourselves. I mean, I don't know how to say it, but being on Dilaudid, herniated disc, not being able to feel your leg. I mean, that's a massive, massive thing. But you actually already blew my mind a little bit, because I wrote a book in 2023, which became an international bestseller, The Epic 5 Plan. I highly recommend it to everybody. Shameless self-promotion there. But if you're a Kindle Unlimited, it's a free download. All that said, I talked about 5 pillars. One of the pillars was sleep, along with hydration, diet, movement, and nervous system regulation. And I talk a lot about sleep hygiene, but I'll be honest, the way I looked at it, it was kind of an end product. It was something to do to help facilitate health. I hadn't really thought about health facilitating sleep. And of course it does. Walk me through that 180, because that's a very different approach than most people take to sleep issues.
All right. So this is where I think our story should start, right? So we've just come up with an agreement, and everything in life is agreements, right? So we came up with an agreement. Listen, this is a sleep podcast. I'm a sleep expert. Let's not talk about sleep, right? So when I explain sleep, like, let's say it's a battery, right? You have a battery and then a battery charger. So your bed, let's say, is a charger. And when you sleep, you're basically plugging in the body and you're charging at night. But if you don't get the charge, if you don't plug the charger in, or you don't set the charger up correctly, you're not going to be able to recharge your battery at night. So we get the setup so screwed up that most people will be, if you just get my first 4 steps down, we don't even have to work on sleep, because for me to work on your sleep, it'll take a year. And again, most people don't, well, actually we're Americans, so we might all need it, but that process of having to address so many things that come up, really, you can get it right when we start from the beginning. And starting from the beginning so we have 4 steps. First step I'm going to talk about is track it, right?
Mm.
This is like chiropractors taking x-rays, like a cardiologist, taking blood pressure. You can't improve what you don't track, right? You got to track things. And I created what we call actually I'm changing the name, because it's the Way Smarter Smart Ring.
Oh, nice.
My guy's like, what the heck's smarter? Get rid of it. It's going to be called the Way Ring. All right, I'm fine. All right, I made a mistake. So it's not about the ring, right? So when you look at Aura and sleep trackers, and then you look at the Apple Watch, everything tracks. And they give you fancy scores, right? And these scores are like, okay, here's an extrapolation of this, and here's what your sleep scores are. This is what time you went to bed. This is how many steps you walked. Oh my God, look, I walked all these steps, right? But if you're typing on the computer, nobody knows you're moving steps. Like, if you're Italian, you're doing like 1,500 more steps than the next person. All of these things are algorithms. And as a scientist, I like raw data. And within the industry, let's say trackers, there's three things. There's data that's very, very accurate, and it's been accurate for years and years and years. There's heart rate. You can monitor your heart rate through the skin. You can monitor core temperature through the skin, and oxygen saturation. Those are the things, and you can monitor movement, but I don't like to extrapolate that to sleep because it's on your hand. So those 3 metrics are so important to look at. And the most important metric out of all of them, and this is what people, I think, remember back in the day, like you would see like the person, like Jason, you had the fitness band on, you know what I mean? And you're running, right? And you got the thing
I feel
on.
it, because, I want to remind everybody that we were together in school over 2.5 decades ago. So I remember everything looking like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You do it. And then afterwards, you see them go like this.
Yeah.
Look at their watch. Right. What are they checking? Checking heart rate, right? So if you're going to go for a run, what has to happen to your heart rate? Does it increase or decrease? Increases, right? Is that sympathetic dominance or parasympathetic dominance? That's sympathetic dominance. Sympathetic dominance is control. Well, if you're going to relax and you're going to go to sleep, does your heart rate increase or decrease? It
Should,
decreases.
yep.
That's parasympathetic stimulation. So now when we can look at heart rate as a real-time measurement of what the autonomic nervous system is doing, right? So if your heart rate is rising, you're not going to be able to sleep, right? Because you can't be in a cell cannot survive and thrive at the same time. It's either running from a tiger or in surviving or you're thriving. And when you look at this, sleep is the same thing. You can't survive and sleep at the same time. So an elevated heart rate is the opposite of sleep. It's control. So a lowered heart rate is letting go. So if you're not able to let go effectively, you are never going to be able to sleep effectively. And people will be like, "Oh, I sleep. I can let go fine." Blah 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 blah. Well, we're talking about at a subconscious core level. So now let's look at emotions. Okay, so emotions that trigger a heart rate to elevate is going to be the opposite of sleep, right? Because heart rate when you sleep needs to drop. So heart rate, like anger, if you're angry, what happens to your heart rate? Increases. Sympathetic dominant. Greed, lust, hate, envy. These are all sympathetic emotions. Remember, emotions are thinking. So we are taught to live. If we're in this stressed state, COVID and politics, or wherever you feel, if you don't feel safe, you're not going to be able to sleep. So the opposite emotions, gratitude, love, prayer, respect, those are parasympathetic emotions. So we can look at somebody's heart rate and look at that, and we can extrapolate based on that data what their state is over a long period of time. And then a chronic state of heart rate dysfunction is heart rate variability, which we will get into. So now when you start to look at a tracker that looks at some of the most accurate data of heart rate, you can determine by looking and understanding what your heart rate's doing, why you're not sleeping. Because you have to be able to understand what heart rate means and how we can control it to be able to rewire our nervous system to go parasympathetic at night. Does this make sense?
Absolutely makes sense, and in fact, I mean, the longer I do, I don't even know what my job is anymore, but the longer I do whatever we do these days, the more I realize it's all about nervous system regulation. I mean, it really is. And it's a pendulum swing between parasympathetic and sympathetic. And I think I always make the joke that in America, we're all overworked, overtaxed, underslept, and underpaid, and I think that part of that's that stress response. And it's interesting because, again, I have a lot of questions about sleep hygiene and I want to dive into HRV, but I think what I'm hearing is, Pete, that we got to work on what's between the ears and get that straight and move into that parasympathetic state before we're going to experience that good night of sleep.
That's why
right?
It's step one.
Right. Step one. So, man, I feel like we're like fast forwarding, but I would love to hear what are two things people can do to like move into that parasympathetic state.
Okay, good. Perfect. So now, so we track it, right? So that's what we use a tracker for. And then I have a course called Body Rhythms.
Okay.
You identify what your rhythms are, what the heart rate looks like. Now I give you 5 activities to do. 1 activity a day for 5 days, right? So let's do this. So the reason why I created the Way the Way ring is it does real-time measurements. So what I'll do is I have my clients take a heart rate, right? Well, take a heart rate. Let's say it's 80 beats per minute. Then day 1, I'll have them do a specific breathing technique. I call it spare breathing within. So I'll have them spare breathe for 5 minutes. Then they'll take a reading right afterwards. Okay, good. So they were able to, let's say, drop their heart rate 5 points. Then the next day I'll have them do spare breathing, but then I'll have them put a sleep mask on. And then let's say they're able to drop it by 10 beats. That tells me something different about their internal systems. Then I give them a meditation, then a meditation while grounding, then a high heat situation. So I give them 5 things to do. Take a reading before, take a reading afterwards. Whichever activity they're able to drop their heart rate by 10 to 15 points. Now, what we do is we have them do that one activity every day attached to my custom scent underneath the nose. So I'm attaching a conscious parasympathetic control to a scent, and they do not smell this scent any other time of day. They only use the scent when they are doing that activity. So we're rewiring the limbic brain through the olfactory senses to smell the scent and then drop the engage the parasympathetic nervous system.
It's like Pavlovian, but for sleep.
Because remember, we're so trained, nobody's rewiring calm. That's what we call it. We're so trained to be sympathetic dominant that nobody's people's like meditate. Well, all right, but I can't meditate all day long. So is there a way? So let's say, Jason, you fell in love with your partner, right? You know, you guys are in love, and oh my God, they were able to do a triple flip, and it amazed you. But you were in a rose bush. Every time you smell roses, you fell in love because your partner did the triple backflip. You always remember that triple backflip. I don't know. I'm just coming up with some stupid thing. But the olfactory senses are the quickest and most direct line to the limbic brain, which is where your emotions are. So we can rewire that to go parasympathetic. So that is how we do it.
Wow, that's cool. That's super cool. I've never heard anyone, like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone even speak to that. So Pete, that's mind blowing. So thanks for the first 180. I really love that.
So we do. So we track it. And then we rewire it. We rewire the nervous system. Now we're ready for step 3. In step 3, this is what I believe you guys want to dive into. This is really the crux. And this isn't even step 4 where we're mastering sleep. Because if we can get everybody to get down step 1, 2, and 3, most people don't need to dive deep into sleep because we were born to sleep. They just get the triune of sleep so screwed up that it's ass end backwards. And this is where I saw that the sleep industry only had a 2-legged stool, and I needed to add a third leg. Because when the sleep industry talks about sleep, right, they talk about recharging and repairing and lymphatic drainage and all this stuff, which I believe is so important. But what do we know as chiropractors? We know that the structure affects function. And this was like, it isn't even in the industry. It isn't even in the textbooks anywhere other than the chiropractic world. And it's not so there was a study, loss of cervical function creates lack of blood flow to the brain. It was done in 2019. It was in Brain Flow Journal. I mean, we've known this stuff for years, right? Where structure affects function. Well, why is everybody's structure so screwed up? It's because they're sleeping wrong, because the sleep industry has this thing totally ass end backwards. And this is what I can't wait. I call it aligning the triune of sleep. And this is really where we could spend hours on this. And this is what I want to dive into, because this is going to give you the nuggets that you're looking for to be able to just get what you can control down. Remember, sleep is about letting go. Everybody wants to control it. You can't control sleep. You can only control what you can control. And we want to master. I only want to sleep in your bed, Jason, for like the first 10 minutes. Then I'm out. I want to sleep with everybody in America. 10 minutes. That's it. Then I'm done. Right? And why? Because I don't let your body do what it's going to do. Sleep is about letting go, not control. We only control what we can control. And this is within the time where we fall asleep. So that's my hard line. I'm going to teach you how to set up the battery charger correct so that your body is going to charge at night.
I love it. I love your fire. And also I love the idea of a triune of sleep. I think that's just like magic words there. James, I'm going to turn it right over to you. I know you've been, chomping at the bit here a little bit.
Well, I just pay attention to what Pete's talking about. And I just did some numbers. There used to be an old saying that people lie, numbers don't. Now I think they both are fudged a little bit. But you can't lie about how many hours in the week there are. There's 168. And I did some research here, and the average adult typically sleeps about 7 to 9 hours per night. So that's between 49 to 63 hours a week you're going to be sleeping or in your bed at some capacity. And I think that that's the baseline for tracking. right? We know like the quantitative number of the hours that people are going to be doing something. That's their activity range. And now you're bringing in, you want to be in bed with everybody for 10 minutes a night, which I think is really interesting to say because you're now connecting the brain capacity with you as their expert, which I love. And you're a chiropractor, so you're talking about structure and how does the structure affect the psychology, and how does the psychology come back and affect the structure, which creates the olfactory sensories, which creates brain training. So I love how all these things are starting to parallel and stack on top of each other. And I am very curious about environment because you're talking about the human environment. Like, what do you have to do to get the person to the point that they get that optimum range and you're tracking it? What about the environment that they're sleeping in? Like,
Mm.
you know, earlier before we started the interview, I was like, Pete, I want to talk to you about like the pillows because I know that's something that's inside of your wheelhouse, the neck nest. And what about the materials that are in the beds and, like materials that are inside of the
Even like
beds?
grounding sheets and stuff like that. I mean, there's so much that can be. Yeah, I'd love
The
to hear.
environment, like the bed
Yeah.
environment, like what do you think about the materials of the mattresses, the pillows, the grounding sheets, the blankets, the et ceteras?
James, for right now, right? So if I give you, I offer, this is a statement I make. A how without the why is just a what. And what I state as wandering around hopelessly after tools. So the problem is if I have a and I just came up with that statement this morning, by the way. And so I usually talk about what's all the time. But let's say I have a principle that says I shall not kill. You don't have, because it's based on a principle. I shouldn't have to tell you who I can kill and who I can't kill because I have a principle. We haven't even reached that point yet where I believe that we're ready to talk about that because we're not even there yet. Like those are what's, and if I don't
Mm.
give you the why, then it will just remain a what. And I can tell you a whole bunch of what's of like the grounding sheets. Those are important, but much, much less important. But I still think we need to build through the why, and then we'll come back and then I'll hammer all your what's. But a lot of those questions are going to be answered by you once we unravel the triune of sleep. Is that fair enough?
Sure. I mean, I'm just curious about these things because we're talking about like internal environment.
Mhm.
And now I'm thinking about like the external environment that we're actually putting the person into the proper position with the right frame of references. So
We're
I was
going
just,
we're going to talk about the external because right now what I want, right, I want to get to the point where we align this triune, and then based on what the triune is, whatever external environment we talk about typically goes into one of my core elements of sleep, and then I'll lay out the core elements, and then we'll bust through how those affect the core elements because each one of them affects them a different way. And so let's go through, and then I'm going to come back to the environment, the grounding sheets. We can do room temperature. We can do the actual toxicity within the sheets. Actually, having your phone plugged in next to your head, what that does. So
I'm getting there too, buddy. I appreciate the pre-frame and all this stuff because I know that there's a lot of people out there like, damn, technology's in my bedroom. Damn, I got a Wi-Fi router in my bedroom. Like, what do? I got blue lights in my bedroom. Like, I know we'll get to those topics too because I know there's a lot of curiosity as to like create an optimum environment. Like, we want to make people healthy. We want to get people better faster. And through that, as Dr. Jason said in his Epic 5 plan, and part of that is sleeping. So I think we're on the same page together, and I appreciate you being so excited about sharing with us all these fun topics. So I think we'll pass over to Dr. Jason and continue the conversation forward.
Boy, and I'm going to hand the stick right back to Dr. Pete because I want to hear about this why. Because honestly, again, I come back to, I mean, I'm going to just like be transparent here. I don't sleep well. And I think it's because, I mean, I have a whole bunch of theories, but I think
well,
it's
you
mostly,
said think, and we're definitely gonna
yeah,
get
I
there.
think I think it's because I think, my brain doesn't shut off. And,
Conscious.
I can't wait to just dive into that. But I've always focused on black and, black everything out and white noise and the perfect temperature and the mattress and this and that. But I want to hear more about this triune of sleep. I want to hear about the why so I can answer not just the what question.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I have an idea what you are. Let me just ask a few questions about you, Jason.
Sure.
Are you cross dominant, ambidextrous?
I can't write with both hands, but I can do just about everything else pretty well. Yeah.
Are you righty or lefty?
Right. More so.
Make a circle and look at me through the lens of the camera and bring that back. See what eye you are? That you're left-eyed. So you're right-handed, right-handed, left-eyed. That's cross-dominant. So that's an anxious state. So your state is an ADD brain, which makes you neurologically sympathetic dominant. When you're sympathetic dominant, you can't shut your brain off. You compare yourself to everybody else. You have unexplained underachievement. These are just things that we do as an individual. You run so sympathetic dominant that your core curls up. Your neurology wants to curl up and be in a ball when it sleeps, giving you shoulder issues, different types of dysfunction. But I'm going to get to why that is. But your neurology is why you can't sleep. And I'm going to tell you why that is right now.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay.
Lay it on.
And then do me.
Yeah, I'll do you right now. But you so almost already think that what you are. So Jason's the ADD brain, right? ADHD, that the brain runs a million miles, probably overflow movement, highly addictive personality, right? That brain, just, if you're going to exercise, you're going to be all in, right?
Yeah.
And then so runs sympathetic dominant. So parasympathetic inhibition in somebody like him, and I'm getting a little bit far ahead of myself right now, but is typically his issue. He could be a gorilla on my sleep avatar test, but still can't sleep. All right, James, just make a circle. Look at me through that circle. Look right at me. I can't see you through. Look through the lens. Yeah, there you go. Okay, make a smaller circle and bring it back to your eye. Okay, good. Are you right-handed or left-handed? Right-handed. Okay, good. So he would be that different state. So he can't shut off his brain either, but he has that internal anxiousness, right? And it's still that brain that runs a million miles a minute, but his neurology doesn't have that hyperactivity component that's situated with it, but still that internalized thinker, that rationalizer, that brain, if it wakes up at 1 a.m, is thinking and it's difficult to go back to sleep. So typically with you guys, you see heart rate rises typically around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then if you wake up during that, it's sometimes difficult for you guys to get back to sleep if you haven't done advanced training. But that's just hardwired through neurology. And then I can tell you, I can let you guys know where that's coming from. Okay, we ready?
I'm ready. And I just looked at my, I wear an Oura ring. I want to learn more about the Way ring for sure. But I was just looking at my stats. I wake up at 2 o'clock all the time. Like you just nailed it. Like all the time.
And it's because your brain's a boggle piece, and I'll explain that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get to the triune, right? When you're going to sleep, there's 3 things at play. There's the need for the subconscious brain, the need for the conscious brain, and then the need for the body. So it's the body, the subconscious brain, and the conscious brain, right? All the body wants, and it's never been talked about before, all the body wants is comfort. It wants alignment. It just wants to be in a line. That's it. Because the average person tosses and turns 20 to 40 times a night because the body is in pain. And it's because the position you're being told to start in is unsustainable. I have people do the 2-hour movie test. Oh, they tell me I fall asleep. I sleep on my right side. I sleep on my left side. Okay, good. You are not in control when you sleep. So if you want to see when you're in control of, try to watch a 2-hour movie in the position you fall asleep in and tell me how long you're able to stay in that position without moving. I guarantee you it's only going to be 20 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes, the average person will move out of that position. So the position that your conscious brain thought you were comfortable in, mistaked comfort, because the body is comfort, with subconscious need for sleep, which is safety. And this is really the key. What I never saw in this entire industry until I started talking about it, and then thinking, why do we sleep? Like, why can't we sleep? And what controls sleep? And this goes all the way back to my childhood in Malden, Massachusetts. I was on a busy street, and there was a bus stop. And I can remember, like at 4 years old, kids would come up and bang on my window and run off the porch to play a prank. And I could remember I wouldn't be able to get to sleep because I thought I was going to be abducted as a child, as an infant. And how many our kids cry in the middle of the night? They don't want to be alone. They don't want the lights off. Why? Because they don't feel safe. So innately what I did is I put all these stuffed animals around me. I put a Superman cape on my monkey and I put it right in front of me saying that he was the man of steel. Nothing could get by the monkey. And then when my daughter had a sleeping problem, I put the turtle over her head and said, nothing gets through the turtle shell. And then the tigers were at the end of her bed. So our subconscious need for sleep is safety. And what's funny is the subconscious does not know the difference between position and pressure. So what the conscious brain thinks is comfortable isn't. It's safe for the subconscious brain only based on pressure points. So to align the triune, to get this shit right, we want a body in alignment, reverse the damaging effect of the modern day lifestyle. And I'm going to tell you how that causes dysfunction in itself. So you want to get a neck nest under your neck, and I can show you the position. Then let the weight of the head off of the back of the neck nest. Get the neck into distraction, because anytime you support something, you weaken it. So you want the head off of the back of the neck nest so that there's no support to the head at all. You want the head in space and then lie flat. Put the body in alignment. And when you're like that, the conscious brain is going to go like, I can't do that. There's no way. Well, that's where all the screw up comes. It's the conscious brain that screws everything up because it doesn't realize, but the subconscious brain saying, hey, listen, buddy, I'm not going to be safe like that.
Wait, I got to say, I'm going to use different terms because what I love what you just did, Pete, is that you brought chiropractic philosophy into sleep, right? I mean, because you're talking about innate intelligence and educated intelligence, right? Subconscious and conscious. And I just remember, with universal intelligence, innate intelligence, educated intelligence, the one that gets us in the most trouble is educated, probably. So, and I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Stinking thinking.
Yeah, we're stinking thinking, and we're looking for comfort over safety. And this is mind blowing. Like I've never heard this before. This is great.
And the part that I'm fascinated by is we think that we're laying down in a position that we want to go to sleep in, and by 10 minutes or 20 minutes, we're shifted into a completely different pattern because that's what our body desires, not what our educated brain tells us we should be doing. Our body overrides the brain and it gets in the position that's best suited for what our subconscious wants us to have. It's almost going back to the womb. It's going back to that fetal
That's where
world.
I came up with all this shit. I had to this all came to me with hundreds of hours of meditation. I'm almost finished with my book. And it's hundreds of hours of figuring this up and applying principles. And this is what I love when people challenge me. They're like, oh no, what about lymphatic drainage? My doctor told me about lymphatic drainage. It's on the side. You got to sleep on the side. 2015 study was done on the side. You got to sleep on the side. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I hear that all the time, right? That's the conscious brain, right? So research is only good at what you're trying to ignore. I said, have you ever seen that study? No, but my doctor said, right? Then the doctor, oh, I saw the study. Did you read the significance statement in that study? Ugh. Now, then all of a sudden, blah, 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 and then you're the regurgitation in your mouth. Well, that study, what are they choosing to ignore in that study? They're choosing to ignore that was done on a rat.
Oh, boy.
Look at the cervical curve in the rat. It's a complete reversal of the cervical curve. So think about innate, right? Body weight needs to be distributed over the greatest surface area. What's the greatest surface area on the rat? Its side or on its back? Right? On a human, what's the greatest surface area?
Right.
On your back. So when you just look at the structure, and so the cervical curve in a rat is reversed. The cervical curve in the human is opposite. And in that statement, it says, we did this on rats, and therefore we're extrapolating that the best position is in humans. They're not looking at the structure of the spine. Nobody in the industry is looking at the structure of the spine, except when I entered the industry, because I had such dysfunction within my cervical spine, my lumbar spine, for my first decade, even my chiropractic career, until my disc herniated. I just didn't understand these principles that body posture, adjust the head position due to the writing reflex. And then you pick up that in the psoas major muscle. And then the psoas is the only muscle in the human body attaches directly to a disc. And then when the psoas is in spasm, it weakens the disc. So I didn't have a back issue. I had a sleeping issue that caused cervical dysfunction. And then I had heart palpitations. All that goes away when you fix the cervical spine, because you improve the function of the vagus nerve, which then allows your body to go parasympathetic. Because remember, sleep is about letting go. It's not about control. So everybody wants a what? They want a new, not you, James, but we want to educate people on this. But everybody's looking for a new pillow, a new sleeping supplement, a new this, and they're doing all of this downstream when they not even setting up the charger correctly. They're not even putting the body in alignment. They're not even understanding how to create safety for the body in order for it to fall asleep. And then the last step, right? Put the body in alignment, create safety for the subconscious brain, and then learn to teach the conscious brain how to shut down and get out of its own way.
But everything you said there goes back to the root of breathing. And if your body is functioning the way it's supposed to at rest, it rests and repairs. And that's the part where a lot of people are missing, I believe, is you're talking about perfect cervical alignment while you sleep, which has a direct impact on vital lung capacity, which has a direct impact on restful night's sleep. But it's the part where a lot of people that aren't in the chiropractic space, they're not going to think about proper body positioning while you sleep. They're going to talk about a rat study about lymphatic drainage, because that's what they're cherry picking their research on when they have really no substance of it except for what the doctor told me. And I think that that's where we're at today, is people want to cherry pick information rather than doing the research and tracking what actually works for the end user, who's the person that you want to be in bed with every night for 10 minutes.
It is a great point, James, because, and Pete, back to you, I love that 5-day test where you're like, do this, what happened to your heart rate? Do this, now what happened to your heart rate? And then really figuring out, I call it the N factor of one, right? I mean, everyone's a little different, and you can fine tune what that one person needs based on your assessment, and then tailor their, like, the front end of that program, that Triune, to them. I mean, it's just brilliant. I really find it fascinating. I want to jump over to, well, I have two questions. I don't know. Pete, I'm going to let you choose which one. We've mentioned the WAY Sleep Better program, right? The WAY program. I'd like to know what that is. I mean, what are those letters? But then also, I might want to put a pin in that, because we've talked about HRV a lot. We've talked about heart rate a lot, but HRVs come up. And I want to talk about that too, because I think that there's some misunderstanding. It's a word that's thrown out. What's your HRV? Heart rate variability. You know, I'd like to hear your perspective on that as well. So both of those are my questions. I'll let you field where you want to go next.
Yeah, because they're both connected, and I'll connect them for you. Sure. Because hopefully what you're getting from this is that everything is connected, and we know this. And so when I answer that question, in identifying our protocol and what our brand is, and what I want the brand to be, there are some very specific things that we're trying to create, right? And the word alignment had to be in there, because alignment, whether it's in your life, whether it's in your spine, whether it's aligning, friends, your family. So the way stands for, so it's our mission to awaken the full potential of a well-rested, aligned you. So it's well-rested and aligned. That's what we're bringing. That's what we're connecting to the industry, because alignment, what it does is, by aligning the spine properly at night, you're basically remolding the structure, and you are establishing a cervical curve while you sleep. That improves what's called the vagal tone. The issue in our life is that we have those two systems: parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic survive. Parasympathetic nervous system is thrive. So if you are not able to engage that thrive system, if you are not able to allow that vagus nerve to live, you're always turning the vagus nerve on with a dimmer switch. We are just so underwhelmed, and we are hardwiring ourselves to not be able to sleep well. So when you look at HRV, heart rate is a real-time measurement of, is sympathetics involved or parasympathetics involved? HRV is a chronic extrapolation of what's your ability over a long period of time to engage that balance. So when your sympathetic nervous system is involved, your heart rate becomes very systematic, because what happens is when you're running from a tiger, the body needs to depend on a specific amount of blood to the body, to the muscles, specific amount of blood to the brain, so it regulates the heartbeat, so it can just get a consistent amount of flow. It shuts down the blood to the digestive tract, reproductive organs, immune system. Now, when our body goes into parasympathetic, it removes the stress from the heart, because that sympathetic beat is a same stress on the pump every single time. Now, what happens is when you go parasympathetic, our body's now adaptable. It can heal here, it can heal there, digest food. It's now the heart rate goes variable, where the beat is not boom, 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 where if it's a 60 beat per minute, one beat every second. One beat maybe 0.75 seconds, another one 1.1 second, then another one, 0.9 seconds. So the beat is very variable. So it fires all over the heart. So it distributes the stress over the entire heart. So what happens is you allow looking HRV. When you have higher HRV readings, your body is rested, it's ready to adapt and not in chronic survival mode. And then so when you have a better HRV, you're going to sleep better. Hopefully that answered your question.
No, yeah, it absolutely did. And again, I just want to pull out words that you used, rigid and adaptability. And I think it's interesting words. I'm just going to say it again: sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, more rigid, more, regular; parasympathetic nervous system, more adaptable. And I like that word, because even moving away from nervous system stuff and using all these big words that some people, might get scared of, just a way to think about it. I mean, if you just think about humans, just as people, personalities, a really rigid person, really stuck in their way, and this is the way they do it, they're not as adaptable, right? I mean, they're really rigid and kind of angry sometimes, and that's just, the way they are. I'm painting a picture here, but I got that idea of rigid and adaptability. It really made me think about just the beingness of people, that there's something, I don't know what I'm hitting at here, but I think there's something there. But I like that rigidity and adaptability, and I want to be adaptable. So thank you. I appreciate that.
And for what I'm picking up here, it's almost like chemistry. Like, there's a proper time to do certain things in order to get the most restful night's sleep. And that's adaptability. You're talking about eating, ideas of digestion, when the body triggers into these modes. So I want to throw it to you, Pete, on that question. Is there an optimal time for people to eat to where they get better restful sleep and they adapt better and stay in that rest and digest mode?
James, and I think this is now where we can talk about the final step, which is sleep, right? So in my sleep, we have the 5 core elements, and one of the core elements is body core temperature. So in order for you to get good deep sleep, so our sleep needs to be deep sleep, right? So when you look at deep sleep and shallow sleep, or REM sleep and light sleep, our body goes through these natural cycles. Deep sleep is where your body repairs, and REM sleep is where your mind repairs. Let's just put it that. We'll keep it simple. Okay. Deep sleep happens within typically the first third of your sleep cycle, and happens at the lowest body core temperature. So your body heart rate needs to drop quickly, and you want to be in deep sleep before an energy spike that typically happens at midnight. So that's when most people get like a second wind. Our body is tied into the circadian rhythm, and when we have an energy spike, we want to be in a deep sleep before that energy spike. And what I typically talk to my clients is say every hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight, right? It's just because your body is getting more restful sleep, because you're getting into deep sleep before, like I said, that energy spike. So in order to get good deep sleep, our core temperature needs to drop. Well, how does our core temperature drop? Well, what follows that? Heart rate follows that, right? So our heart rate drops, and then our core temperature drops. All right, good. Well, what's a byproduct of digestion? Heat. So if you're eating food and you're digesting food, you're creating heat within your core. And if you have a lot of food in your system, your core temperature is not going to be able to drop, and you're not going to be able to get deep sleep. So I have a rule of thumb with food. My rule of thumb is no more than 400 calories within 4 hours of going to bed, or 300 calories within 3 hours of going to bed. And if you need to eat food before because let's say you're starving, have 100 calories and make sure that it's a light carbohydrate with a little bit of fat.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that a lot of the problems that people have with restful sleep, and you nailed it for me, because I never thought about doubling down on hours before midnight is basically better for you to get that restful night's sleep. So note to everybody out there, go to bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock. You'll get better hours of sleep before midnight, and don't eat over 400 calories before 4 hours before bed and 300 calories before 3 hours before bed. Because I do believe that those are huge components that most people have never keyed in on, and they don't know that that actually creates better quality of life and rest and digest, and the body actually gets a chance to break down and have like the cellular repair, and it has a chance for the immune system to actually kick in and to heal the cells and the mitochondria and actually give the body a chance to restore. And I think these are a lot of the parts where people think about being healthy, but they're really out of balance with their alignment when they're actually supposed to be repairing and actually getting the body those hours that the body goes into that parasympathetic, and it says, okay, I'm chilled out, my body core temperature is the right, and now I'm going to wake up rested and ready to go charge. And I think that that's really the cycle that we are talking about, is how do we cycle somebody through this behavior pattern to adapt into a proper state of mind for the subconscious priming to say, now the body has reset through the proper night of sleep and they're following Dr. Peter Martone, and now their life is better.
And I want to say, hey, thank you, Christy Brown, for loving the concept of sleep is all about letting go and it's not about control.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And James, if you expect miracles, right? So sometimes what you're going to see is that, all right, yeah, fine, you screwed up. Like this weekend, I lived lake life and I had some drinkies and, ate a little bit late. So what did I do? I sweat at night and, I screwed up. All right. That's what happened. I'm natural. I'm normal. And I can tell you what my eating schedule is that I go through, and I'm pretty structured. But on the weekends, I let myself mess up, because I'm a human. I still love to have a good lifestyle. But that is when I've scheduled in naps, and we talk about that typically in my advanced concepts. But if you like tonight is a Tuesday night, and I'm going to be mountain biking. I'm going to be interviewing, and then I'm going to be mountain biking, right? So I'll mountain bike late, probably with the headlight on tonight, and I'm exercising late. Well, what's a byproduct of increased metabolism, right? Is heat. So I'm going to go to bed, and I'm not going to sleep well tonight. I already know that because I can have any chili pad. I don't care what the heck you try to cool yourself off with, put yourself in an ice bath. Doesn't matter. It's not happening naturally. You screwed up, and you have some issues. So that is when you nap. You nap the next day to make up. If it's chronic lack, then you're gonna, then you can nap. You can get away with a few days of kind of messing up, but that's when really a nap is good. And I schedule napping on my Wednesdays because I know that I don't sleep well on Tuesday night. So I'm very structured when it comes to my midweek routine.
I love that we're adults and talking about napping, because sometimes I think back to kindergarten. I don't know if you guys went to kindergarten. You guys took naps, but in my kindergarten, I swear like half of our kindergarten time was just laying on the ground and taking a nap. I'm pretty sure that's my public education at its best right there. Pete, I was just thinking about this whole idea that Christy wrote in there too, about the idea of letting go of control. And I love your psychoanalysis of my ADHD brain, and I totally appreciate it. You're spot on. But I think sometimes a lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, big thinkers, big doers, I think that a lot of us can be control freaks, right?
I love where you're going with this.
Yeah, I know. I'm a control freak. And it sounds like, if it's hard to as a control freak, if I'm putting it together the right way, the thing that I can do is to lower my heart rate. And it sounds like what I want to do is figure out how to control my heart rate and put my energy there. And then I'm still in control, but I can let go by letting my heart rate down.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is going to blow your mind, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to love this. All right, here we go. Oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. I want to wait because it's so good to just tell it to you. But once I remove the veil, your life is going to change. All right. When you go to sleep, remember this. You can be in control of one of two things. Are you ready? You can be in control of thinking. What's the opposite of thinking? Remembering. You can either think or remember. You'll never think yourself to sleep, but you can remember yourself to sleep. If you remember walking a golf course 3 days ago, and I find that you have to sleep on the memory. So you can't remember something that hasn't been categorized in your brain. So if you remember a walk and you remember everything about that walk. So in one of my advanced techniques, we talk about creating a sleep memory. Create a memory today that you know you're going to put yourself to sleep on tomorrow. So floating down a river, walk in a park, think about the scents, the smells. Think about it needs to be a calming memory and a good memory. So if you remember, you're in a different portion of your brain than thinking. You're not in the prefrontal cortex where thinking and rationalizing is. You're in the back portion of your brain where your sleep centers are. And that's ultimately what dreams are. They're in your memories. So I came up with this concept of remembering yourself to sleep versus sleeping versus thinking yourself to sleep, because you can control either one of those.
I love that.
And when you're thinking, you're not remembering. When you're remembering, you're not thinking. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, man. That's great. You know what's interesting too? I mean, I love the whole idea about it because the memory takes my focus off of thinking. I don't know how else to say it. Because like you said, you can't do both, right? I mean, you can remember things or you can think things. And I love the idea of the memory. I love that. So thank you for that. I'm going to practice that.
That's the conscious
tonight.
brain, right? So put the body in alignment.
Yeah.
Get the subconscious brain, create safety, and then get the conscious brain out of your own way. That's one of the techniques we have to get the conscious brain out of its own way.
I mean, we keep talking about alignment and posture, and I'm just going to bring up the neck nest. I mean, I know you kind of said it. I demonstrated it. Tell us about the neck nest. Like, where's the genius behind that? What does it do?
So that was when I was in the emergency room, right? And I'm like, how could it come to this? How the hell can I be a chiropractor in practice at the time? I think it was 8 years, and not being able to help my own self. So I said, something's got to give. There's got to be a pattern that I didn't learn. There's something going on. So I reviewed 3,000 x-rays. And in those x-rays, I found that so normal cervical curve, as you know, as a chiropractor, for those that aren't, you should have a curve in your neck like this. But then when you lose the cervical curve like it is right there, you pick up a scoliosis in the lower back, an adaptive psoas major muscle spasm. So, and at that point, I'm like, holy the thing's in my neck. Well, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm not going to lie on a roll during the day. I said, well, Wolf's Law, the writing reflex states body posture adjust to head position. So that makes sense now. And so I had to find that law. Then I came up with the other law, which is Davis's law, and tissue remolds based on the stresses applied. Wolf's Law, bone remolds based on the stresses applied. So if I can put my tissue in a specific position and add stress to it, I should be able to fix my curve in my neck. In theory, at the time, I should be able to release that pressure on that psoas off of my disc, and I should be able to create a healthier environment. So, and that's in a sense what I did. So now we have hundreds of x-rays with people that have, bad curves, right? Bad curves, good curves. And then, you start to pull rotation out of you just pull a little rotation off of the spine. And then that allows for that disc to become more functional. So then I started rolling stuff up, and nothing felt comfortable, like a pillow defined as a support for your head. So everything's supporting your head. Even these cervical pillows, they put your head under a roll and then they still put your head on something because they're only there to support your neck and your head. Nothing is, in any time you support, the definition of support in the body is the ultimate support is a cast. If I put my arm in a cast, what happens? You're going to weaken the arm. So when I love to take everything to extremes to really exacerbate the adaptability, because the body has laws of adaptability. So if I put my arm in a cast, I'm artificially creating a stable condition. Stability weakens and degenerates. This is exactly what happens chiropractically. This is what a lot of chiropractors don't understand. When you adjust, you're breaking up scar tissue, creating an unstable condition. The body responds by creating stability by rebuilding the joint space. So don't be afraid of saying the word instability, because breaking up scar tissue increases movement. Movement's unstable. Think about it. A cast is stability. Take the cast off, movement's unstable. So it forces the body to create a joint space and build a joint to maintain mobility. So instability on the x-ray, and this was a damn thing when I went through all my exercise physiology and my PT work. They believe that instability on x-ray or hypermobility causes dysfunction and degeneration. It's a complete friggin' opposite. Hypermobility is there because of hypomobility causing the distraction on those joints. So when you support the neck and then use the weight of the head off of the back of the neck nest, that's a distractive force. So you are gently stretching a curve back into the neck. If you support the head at the same time, you weaken the suspension bridge. You need the weight to be able to maintain the structure. It's the same thing as your lower back. Everybody wants a back support when they sleep. Your back needs to go into extension to create the suspension to be able to maintain the health.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, it's back to the mechanics of what I was saying earlier. Vital lung capacity. When you give the neck the curve that it desires, the low back functions as it's supposed to, releases the psoas, and the body goes back into this actual postural state that the body's desiring. So the neck nest actually helps people breathe better. That's just the baseline of the chiropractic biophysics in me, is that when you biophysically shift somebody back into proper alignment and restore the curve, the body restores back to proper alignment, which allows the body to breathe better and to heal better. And that's what they call in the fancy doctor language homeostasis. And I think that that's really what you're doing, is you're allowing with the neck nest the body to go back to homeostasis, which is the state of healing and optimal function. And I think that that's the really cool thing about everything you just said there, is that's the summary, is the body will go back to homeostasis when the body's actually healing.
Yeah. And you keep bringing up breath and breathing, and I just want to dive into that, 'cause James, I love that, right? Because when you look at it, let's look at when you are running from a tiger, right? You're sympathetic dominant. What has to happen? Bronchioles constrict to push air through. So it forces the air through. So it increases that speed of that volume. When you're parasympathetic, it slows down your heart rate. So everything needs to open up, right? So if you focus on your breath, that is one way to be able to stimulate the vagus nerve. And if you have compression at the cervical spine, you have hindrance. Like I said, that volume is down. You can't get that deep breath, and that affects sleep.
This gets me back to the next phase of questions I wanted to go into with you, is technology and using like CPAP machines and putting people onto these things. And you see them throughout the day. They got these dumb lines on their faces, and you know that they had some machine strapped to them, that they were like forced to breathe while they slept. And if they just had a damn neck nest, they'd probably perform better with sleep, and they wouldn't need these stupid contraptions that leave lines on their faces and they look miserable walking around the next day. And you can see people that have had, it's almost like a scar. You can see like the deep the deep crevices in people's faces with the technology that they're using to aid them to sleep. And then the other caveat to that is they're also drugging themselves and taking sleep meds in order to get this restful sleep, which is incongruent with our chiropractic lifestyle, which is incongruent with their body actually going into restful sleep, because it's tricking the body to go into sleep rather than to allow the body, the subconscious, like you were talking about earlier, to allow the body to actually choose to go to sleep. And the memories choose to go to sleep instead of forcing to go to sleep, or putting a contraption on the body to force it to actually go back into that sleep pattern. So how can your strategies help get these stupid machines out of people's bedrooms and stop the snoring, stop the unnecessary medications?
Some of these machines, they're good for some people, right? They've saved some people's lives, and they bring it back.
I'm not bagging on them. I'm just saying, how do we minimize these things?
Right. And here's the issue. is the dysfunction starts when you get to a point where you need one of these. Like we said at the very beginning, good sleep is a product of a healthier life. So a lot of these people have dysfunctional lives, which is causing the sleep apnea issues. So the way that we address the sleep apnea, especially with the neck nest, is in these studies were all done by anesthesiologists, and a good friend of mine is an anesthesiologist, is head angle. So when most people sleep, when they put a pillow under their head, a pillow is
I knew
defined
it.
as a support for their head. So you're closing
Yep.
down the airway. When this jaw is open at a specific angle, you actually
Mhm.
open up the airway. Yeah, and then the trick at that point is to be able to keep the mouth shut. And then the issue with the sleep apnea machine is we have something in my technique it's called spare breathing. Your body actually falls asleep at the end of a breath in the hold on the breath because
Mhm.
that's a sympathetic state. What the sleep apnea machine does is it makes you breathe but blows through that. So you don't get that sympathetic stimulation at the end of your breath because it's doesn't let the body stop breathing.
Mhm.
And then so when you breathe out, there's a pause. And in that pause is relaxation and parasympathetic stimulation. And then, but because they're forcing the air in after that. So even though it's allowing them to sleep, there's a lot more dysfunction. So we need to change the conversation and help these people, especially even like start aligning first start tracking it,
Mhm.
then start to rewire it, then work on aligning the triune. Then in the middle of the night, if they're having dysfunction, then put it on. Don't start with it because
Mm.
there are so many things that we need to retrain before we even get there. And understanding jaw angle and things like that, especially using the neck nest, we talk within that third phase step.
Mine is so like rudimentary to what we're talking about right now. Thank you, Pete. That was like, it's all so mind blowing. But just talking about tilting the head or, getting the neck in the right position. Everybody that's been licensed or involved with healthcare or school systems or whatever, we've all gone through CPR type training, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the first thing they do, right, is like when it's like tilt the neck, like it's and why? Because we're opening the airway, like, and we take that as prima facie of like we're going to save somebody's life, in CPR situation, let's open up the airway. But then for 8 hours a night, we're like, I don't it, don't put it, don't worry
No,
about the
close the
airway.
airway down.
Yeah, close it down,
Oh,
right?
you got to sleep on your side. Like it's so mind blowing that it's all screwed up. That's
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
is.
trying to do. Trying to
Well,
change the way the world sleeps.
but I'm just saying, like, those are two things that are true. And yet, even from a healthcare provider, someone that's, like I said, in my book, I cover sleep. Like, I've never thought about the simplicity of open up the airway. Like, literally, like, open up the airway, get in the right position. It's such a simple concept and yet profound. Yeah.
There's so much basics to this, and to me, it's called vitalism. People that have better vitality sleep better. People that sleep better have better vitality. It's very secular, like, it goes in a circle. Like, if you have vitalism, you sleep better. If you sleep better, you have more vitalism. Like, it just makes sense. And what you're saying is the proper airway is proper positioning, and don't curl up and put your neck down and curve in. Leave it extended, go into extension more. And then that takes me to snoring. It's plaguing 25 to 50% of adults in the US. They snore regularly, while 40% snore at least 45% at least snore occasionally. What is your solution for this group of people?
Put the neck in extension and open up the airway and keep the mouth shut. Same thing.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I knew you were going to say that. I teed that up perfectly because I know that people are definitely plagued with not having proper airway openings. And it goes back to my original core opening with you, which was breathing, biophysics. If we get people into a biophysics state while they're rest and digest, the body has more vitalism, rests more properly, wakes more energy.
Yeah,
Boom.
body likes consistency. It likes to start and end. Believe it or not, it likes to eat the same stuff. It likes the same rhythms. So when you tie into rhythms, if somebody's a shift worker, we're potentially doing a really big deal with the entire Boston Fire Department on sleep. And one of the biggest things is being able to reset somebody's to be able to reset somebody's circadian rhythm. One of the most powerful things that you can do is do a fasted workout. And when you do a fasted workout, what you're doing is you are telling the body, and especially in the morning, you're telling the body, you're setting a clock in rhythm that says, okay, 12 hours after this fasted workout, you're going to get a melatonin release. So if you can do things and learn the circadian rhythm and be able to tap into these things and be able to understand, listen, there are things that we can do that is very much different than taking a magnesium supplement, which I think is good, or CBD. And everybody's looking for a new what, wandering around hopelessly after tools, right? A how without the why is just a what. We need to build whys. And that's really what it is in my whole concept is you don't just get a ring. I mean, the ring gives you metrics. You get, body rhythms with your ring. Or if you have your own ring, you can still buy the Body Rhythms course. You don't just get a neck nest. You get, a way better sleep blueprint program that goes with the neck nest, because then that you're not just if you just buy a neck nest, it's just another what, right? And it's just going to be another pillow that you're not going to be able to use because you don't have the whys in understanding how to go over that.
Again, I'm tripping over my words because I came into this conversation just wanting to know about the what's. I'll be honest. Like, I want to get to the neck nest, but I now see this is all about nervous system regulation, and it's so much bigger. Of course it is, Pete, because you're a genius, and of course it's bigger than a neck nest. But actually, again, I'm going to ask a question that I now think is also rudimentary in its positioning. But I was going to say, and coming right off the circadian rhythms, my original question was, walk us through, I mean, and everybody's different, but like an ideal evening schedule or whatever that is to set someone up for success. But I want to go back that it's not really an evening schedule even. It's like strategic exercise 12 hours early to spike melatonin. Like it's not even just an evening schedule. Like it's actually very forward thinking and strategic thinking throughout the whole day. But Pete, I'm still going to go back to my question. Set us up for success for a good night of sleep.
Good. Perfect. So you wake up. So basically you're talking about the end day, right? So I believe that your health day doesn't start when you wake up. I do believe it starts when you go to bed. So I call that as recharge and then expend, right? So charge, expend. So if you aren't charging enough, just like a cell phone, you're expending too much, you're going to die, right? And in your body, you don't die. You make it up with hormones, and then you go into dysfunctional states, which is why people have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So what ends up happening is you want to set the tone by waking up and going to sleep at the same time. It's number one, the best thing that you can do. And because your body is tied into a circadian rhythm. And then that's why we get sick during time changes, right? You're 20% more likely to have a cardiovascular event a Monday after a time change, whether you go spring forward or fall back, because of the fact that you're getting thrown off of that 1 hour and it's putting your body into a sympathetic state. So we need to be able to go to sleep and wake up at the same time. Then on the weekends, you can kind of, get around a little bit of dysfunctional stuff. Like last weekend, I slept 10 and a half hours like this. One weekend when I came back from Ireland, I slept 11 hours. Think about sleep in 11 hours, how much repair you get and how much I wore myself down because I was off of a schedule. So that's how you don't get sick. But to answer your question is, make sure you stop eating at a certain time. Dinner should be the same time every night. And then you should try to shoot for the same time to go to bed within a half an hour. I like to be in bed before midnight. So my target during the summertime is 10 o'clock. My target during the wintertime is like 9:20, 9:25. I'm about 45 minutes earlier.
Yeah. And I once again, we don't want to waste people's time. And we especially don't want to waste their sleep time. And I think that our time is the most valuable asset that we all carry around with us. And we have to give that value back to ourselves. And that's a big takeaway for me from today's conversation is set your patterns, live the pattern, and demonstrate the pattern. And once you have that cycle down, now your body becomes healthy.
Yeah. So listen to this, James, right? It's pretty interesting. You say set the pattern, live the pattern. We do that like in our membership program, which is when we work on sleep. I talk about it as a roadmap, right? So in every month, that roadmap needs to change. So because just as your nutritional needs change in January, in June, so don't your stresses, so don't your, so do I take as much vitamin D as I do, during the summer as I do the winter? No. But whoever changes, everybody takes the same thing all the time. And so just as our stresses change, so does our sleep schedule, so does our fitness schedule, so does in our life. So we created a roadmap program where it's a monthly program that everybody goes through, and every month your lifestyle patterns change. And we take people off of sugar one month. We add in fats one month. During the spring, we teach people we get raw local honey to be able to manage their allergies naturally because it starts adding the probiotics. So it's not about what else can we do. It's about how do we connect, because connection, the whole COVID thing, we thought connection is infection. Connection is an infection. Connection is a parasympathetic stimulation. Love more. Learn your relationships. Learn relationships are draining you. Learn that if you let somebody in your life that doesn't share your core values, they're going to create stress that's going to affect your sleep. So identify your core values, identify who you are, and then surround yourself with the people that are healthy, and understand the unhealthy people, because your health is a combination of the people around you, and identify who will bring you down. So your health you need to be a ripple maker. Your health can't be the least or the average of the 5 people around you. You need to identify things through patterns. Like during January, listen, during December, I eat all the cookies I want. I don't care. I'm Italian. Christmas cookies, biscottis, because I know January 1st, I'm going gluten-free and I'm cleansing the whole month. So if you do this by patterns, you never get thrown off the rails because you have a structure. Whether I do that through my whole life, which I do, and then daily you should have a sleep structure, and then build things in. So that's kind of what thank you, James. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much more things to talk to you about. Jason, do you have other questions that you have
Oh my gosh.
for Pete?
I mean, we could just keep going on and on. I think the big thing for me, again, Pete, you said this right when you got on, we're going to do a 180 on the way we think about sleep. And I think in my head, sleep has always been the end game, at least sleep hygiene, and I'm not saying that's not important. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but people say, what's the best way to sleep? I'm like, I don't know, in a cool room with as least clothing as possible. They say sleep with your socks on. So I guess naked with socks. And, there's all these weird rules that we can come up with,
But
but
I will vitalistically tell you why that's not true, but that's
right.
okay.
No, but nonetheless, the thing that I'm saying is, I think it starts way back addressing, the internal environment as much as, if not more so, than the external environment. I think the external environment's important, but if we aren't preparing ourselves for that nervous system regulation, I think we're missing the boat. And it's interesting that you say all of this, because while I say that I don't sleep as well as I would like, and I go through patterns in my life, and anyway, my wife gets a lot of sleep. She sleeps really well. And for every hour or two that I'm missing, she's definitely making up for it. That all said, I did say the other day, I was wondering about nervous system regulation. I said, it's got to be about safety. I must not feel safe, and she must feel really safe. So I was patting myself on the back as the husband. I'm like, my wife feels safe, and look at her sleeping next to me. And I was like, why don't I feel safe? So it's really weird that you brought all this up, because in my middle of the night meanderings in my head, this is what I was thinking about. So, and here you are saying the exact same thing. So I have some things to work on, clearly,
Can I do a lightning round with you, Pete?
Go ahead, buddy.
How do you keep sleeping habits healthy while traveling? Because I'm on the road. I'm on this road 70% of my life.
Very difficult. Fasting workouts is a way, if you're going into time zones. What's the subconscious need for sleep? Safety
and security.
So create a sleep cocoon. So when you get onto the bed, put all the pillows all over you, put them on the side, put them over your head, put them on top of you. You subconsciously do not feel safe when you're sleeping, especially the first night. And then sleep slightly elevated, just to be able to prevent the I have these things on my Instagram, how to sleep while you're traveling, and but use the pillows, sleep slightly elevated. I always get I don't like the king bed. I like the 2 queens, because you can take all the pillows off of the queens and you can create this like sleep elevated style in cocoon.
Cool. Have you also heard that there's research that says that people that sleep in hotel rooms or environments that aren't their bedroom have 20% worse sleep than if they were at their home environments.
I would actually agree with that. Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense because it's a safety issue and you're not in your home bed.
Couldn't we say the same thing about people that go and get sleep studies done? However, then I mean, has
You have
anyone
no,
ever known anybody that's gone to a sleep study
yeah,
and
yeah,
the doctor's like,
I
"You
get it.
sleep great."
And
You know?
I'm coming back to your putting socks on. The mentality. We're coming
Listen,
back.
I don't sleep with
No,
socks on.
not you, but you said that, right? Because that's what they say.
That's what they
And I want to
say.
tell you why that comes from a non-vitalistic model.
Okay.
And I'm going to
Isn't it
break it
weird?
down.
It's super
No,
weird. I'm
and I
like
know
naked
where it
with
comes
socks,
from
man. I don't know.
because I looked at it and wait till you hear about it from a chiropractic standpoint, why that doesn't even friggin' make a damn bit of sense. But go ahead.
Awesome.
Well, I know where it comes from, but they're looking at the wrong thing. Okay, sorry, James. I'm ready. Lightning round.
Wi-Fi routers, cell phones in the bedroom. What are your solutions
People are
for
going
this
to be
stuff?
much more sensitive to it than others. If you're sensitive to it, your ability to methylate or your bucket's already full, right? And if you're really affected by it, there's other dysfunction that's going on in your body. In general, don't have anything plugged in next to your head.
So
And
cell
then
phone,
people
so
can
cell
buy
phone,
they
getting your
can
cell
buy
phone
a
into a nightstand.
yeah, exactly. So take the cell phone, if it's plugged in, put it on the other side. You can go on Amazon, get a EMF reader, and then just go around your bed and see what the EMF is. And a lot of times it's a cell phone is the biggest one, or a plug right next to your bed. Yeah, or the
Well,
rings. They're such low data. Even when they're on airplane mode, you put it right next to it. I'm barely picking up a signal on any one of them.
okay.
So that was my next question. Airplane mode on the cell phone. Is that like a habit that you should always do, even if it's not
No, you
plugged in
don't
by your
need it.
head?
They make remediation that you can plug into a wall that does it. But if you're having a sleep issue, listen, EMFs definitely play a role, but that's not your issue. There's other dysfunction that's going on.
Two more questions. Podcasts. I know you've done 100 of them,
Yeah,
probably more.
yeah, probably a lot.
And mainstream media. How do you
Yep.
see podcasts helping people get your message more clearly? And how are you leveraging mainstream media?
Yeah, it's the same thing like TikTok, YouTube, right? So TikTok, you're looking at something just to get engagement. I have millions and millions of views, right? And then, but on YouTube, we're doing a podcast. People truly listen. They wanna, like Christy, she wants to understand. If you're on it for that period of time, you're educating. And when I'm doing a podcast, the thing that I love about podcasts is people with the podcast typically have a mission. They're driven to be able to make a significant amount of impact think about it, to get better faster, right? That's that you guys have a mission, and I want to be part of that, and I want to be able to take my knowledge into your community and be able to add value to your tribe of people that listen, because the more value I can add, the more impact you're going to have, because people are going to share things out. And that's why I've loved that's why I put such an effort into doing podcasts, because you guys are the ones that I believe are the change in the world.
Heck yeah, bro. I mean, that makes the hair on my arm stand up, because that's our main impetus of why we're doing this project, because we're looking to bring like geniuses and subject matter experts like yourself together and creating a new constellation in the sky of people that are unified, the Avengers of healthcare, the people that are out there doing the right thing that many people don't have access to. So we're creating access points to some of the brightest and healthiest people in the world, helping more people get healthy. And I think that it's just a brilliant thing that you're able to share so openly with us today. Last thing I wanted to ask you, and I'm sure Jason has some closing stuff too, but can you share with us a story of somebody that's gone through your protocol that was a complete mess, that you helped them out and they got their life back?
Yeah, I one at the top of my mind. He had not sleep apnea. It was narcoleptic, right? Falling asleep at work, was only sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. Was trying to have kids. When you're not sleeping, three areas shut down: immune system, digestive system, reproductive system, right? Because those are parasympathetic. So he's always in his survival state. So he's always in a sympathetic state. So anybody that typically has an issue with digestive system, has an immune system issue, and vice versa. They're all connected due to low parasympathetic tone. So they came into me, the wife came into me, and they were like, he's not sleeping, we're having issues, can you help us get pregnant? I'm like, absolutely. Started helping him with the sleep protocols. Really, his biggest thing, I identified actually just like Jason and you, James, too. It's real difficult. Just thinking, right? He couldn't shut off his brain, and he was introspective thinking. I'm like, all right, let's put the body into alignment. Let's create safety, because with that ADD brain, we really need a need for safety. And then I had him focus on remembering. So we created this is where I came up with the concept of the sleep memory. I said, go for a walk, take the most calming thing that you have ever been able to do. Go for a walk around the pond. I want you to smell the roses. Don't do anything with it. Just go do it. And then I want you to come in and talk to me about it. And once I felt like he took enough in, I'm like, great. I said, tomorrow night, what I want you to do is think about everything about that walk. And then once you fall asleep on it, think about that walk every night for the next, month, and because once you fall asleep on one sleep memory, you're able to put yourself sleep on that memory quicker and quicker and quicker. Change his entire life. Now they have two baby girls, and he's sleeping, 7 hours a night now. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that story. And I think it probably rings true with a lot of people. I don't even know the statistics, but I suspect that almost everybody is dealing with some sleep issues just because we've been trained incorrectly on how to sleep. And I've been waiting for the whole show to use this joke. So now is the appropriate time, because what I was going to say is, we spend at least a third of our lives in our beds, depending on your profession. Okay, that's my whole joke, right? So it's really not that funny, but I've been waiting the whole show to bring that up, right? So no, I appreciate this, and literally, I'm like just reevaluating my whole understanding of my next steps. And I know that we're going to talk about next steps, but I would say, I jumped onto it's necknest.com. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just buzzing over there and taking a look at it. People can order the neck nest right there. Again, I want to say that that's a what, and it's a bigger project than that. But check it out. It's
I like them to go to drsleepright.com and take their animal sleep avatar
there
test.
We go.
Because then that will give them, that'll identify if they're a gorilla, armadillo, or an ostrich. And then I'm really identifying your subconscious need for safety.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to get tips. Then use a neck nest, because neck nest is alignment, but you really got to understand, like, okay, you put your body in alignment. A neck nest isn't going to be comfortable unless you know how to use it. Right. And then that's really, so you need to be able to create that subconscious need for safety to use the neck nest correctly.
And then in taking that just a little bit further at drsleepright.com, if folks want to connect with you and, work with you and your team, they can do that right through the website. Is that right?
They can do it right through the website. Yeah. And then from there, we have what's called a Way Better Sleep Academy. And then that's a monthly way that I give these calls monthly.
Nice.
And people can connect with me there.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And then one last thing before I go, because I know I have to go and we're running out of time. I just want to tell you, like, the mindset that goes through, like, cold room, be naked, and then put socks on. Where the hell do they come up with this shit? It's all they're trying to do is they look at one number. Dropping your core temperature is good for sleep. Okay, then let's do that. Well, when you think about let's look at the core, one of the core things in the body. Like one of the, I call them survival systems. Your body is going to survive before it wants to thrive. One of them's core temperature. You have to keep your body at 98 degrees, 98.8 degrees, whatever. Think about and if it drops even at 2 degrees, 3 degrees below that, you can die of hypothermia. So think about the regulation. It takes an enormous amount of resources from the body to maintain that core temperature. It will drain immune system, digestive system, and reproduction at the expense of keeping the core warm. So if you keep in the body, can you stick your hand in an ice bath for 15 minutes? Body doesn't care about your hands, right? Your body cares about your core. Keep your friggin' core warm and let the body, hands and feet get cold. Let the body temperature regulate out your hands and your feet. Because if not, I call it the allostatic ladder. If you're sitting there and just looking at core temperature as the only issue, and you don't understand the vitalism of just maintaining the core, you need to cool out the hands and the feet, not out the torso, right? So that's why we get sick in the wintertime, is because people, oh my God, I run hot. So they go outside naked, right? And then their body resources are all being drained and going to maintaining core temperature. Core temperature is one of my five core elements. In understanding how to maintain a proper core temperature, there are hours that go into that, right? But you just need to understand, have your hands and your feet out of the covers, use your covers from your chest to your waist, and do not put socks on, because they're telling you the hands and your feet are the radiators. Your body doesn't care about the freaking core temperature of your hands and your feet. It only cares about the core temperature of your and it might be uncomfortable to have your hands cold, then stick them under the covers. Don't expose everything. I'm so sorry. I'm super passionate about this.
Dude, I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. Dr. Peter and everybody listening out there, don't sleep on Dr. Peter's methods. That was my joke.
Take action now. Do not sleep for 5 easy installments. You too can be sleeping better today.
But it's been absolutely eye-opening, or maybe eye-shutting, the conversation with you today. And for our listeners, you've heard how your sleep position could be the hidden root cause of your chronic pain. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that fatigue and their health struggles link back to their time in their bed. And check out Dr. Peter's Way Better Sleep System. That's WAY. It isn't just about getting more sleep. It's about transforming your entire health by optimizing your spinal alignment during the 6 to 8 hours you spend every night in your bed. I mean, those are just like straight up truths. You're going to spend the time, you might as well have a healthy body while doing it. Remember, nobody's coming to save you guys. It's simply changing how you sleep. You got to do it for yourself. But follow Dr. Peter's methods. Go to the Neck Nest, check it out. Go to Dr. Sleep Right, check it out. Do the animal avatar test to figure out what type of animal you are. Once again, Dr. Peter, thanks for sharing your incredible insights with the GBF Nation. And all of you, the GBF Nation, thank you for listening and for your continued support. You know the best way to support our show. You know it. Share it. And share this episode, especially if somebody needs to hear the message, especially somebody who's struggling with poor sleep or chronic sleep conditions. And don't forget to subscribe and never miss an episode and get all the behind the scenes tomfoolery. It's one of our favorite words over here. We've got coming your way. We've got more incredible guests lined up, and it's going to blow your mind with more real life solutions to reclaim your health, your happiness, and your life. Until next time, Dr. Peter Martone, Dr. Jason Bradley, keep questioning everything and keep getting better faster. Love and appreciate you guys.
Love you guys. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning into the Get Better Faster podcast. Join the movement and visit getbetterfasterpodcast.com to find all our episodes, micro content, and resources to help you and your family get better faster.